bury the problem, leaving the victims in harm ways.
No, they didn't find that at all. They did not find that.
That's not a straw man. That is a flaming gasoline tank on fire,
They did not find that at all.
With so many straw men and misrepresentations that seem pejorative in the rest of the article, you doubt that was not a pejorative as well. There's just measurable quantifiers that show what you're saying is wrong, both in tone, in tenor, in insinuation. Like, why do we still, there's a reason why Donald Trump's phrase fake news still persists in the zeitgeist and won't go away. So he's the second man to go into Parliament with good intentions after Guy Fawkes. He hasn't been an apostle for more than what? 6 weeks? 8 weeks?
Uh-huh.
And he's already getting lambasted by the AP?
Hey, look at the bias of selection.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Ward Radio. I'm your host, Cardinellis, and today I'm joined in the studio live by Jonah Barnes. He's back. Comedic editor at large, traveling to Los Angeles to help us out here understand a little bit more what's going on. And you said we got to debunk an AP hit piece against Elder Kearon, our boy Elder Kearon.
Elder Kearon.
He hasn't been an apostle for more than what, 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
Uh-huh.
And he's already getting lambasted, actually like 2 or 3 months. And he's already getting lambasted by the AP.
Well, the AP wastes no time.
Well, I got to tell you, they said to Vivek, I screw up his last name, Ramaswamy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy had a really interesting interview. I can't remember who it was, but it was really funny. The first time he was called a Nazi by MSNBC, he said something very interesting last campaign. He's like, well, you've never really made it as a political candidate until, MSNBC has called you a Nazi.
So this is like a rite of passage for Elder Kearon.
It looks like you're not a real apostle until the Associated Press has called you a bigot. Mm-hmm. Or, homophobic, Islamophobic. Actually, Islamophobia, that's kind of gone away post-Patriot Act.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But bigot, that's like the new one. Fascist, being fascist, that's in. So anyway, poor Elder Kearon was called a bigot, basically.
Well, he was...
tell us what's going on. Tell us what's going on.
So it's kind of a hit piece on Elder Kearon. It's more of a hit piece on the Church of JesusChrist because they really don't know anything about Elder Kearon yet. And Elder Kearon is a pretty unimpeachable guy. He's an amazing guy. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But this AP News article is so instructive, and you all have to see what they do here. Okay, so just to lay the background here, once upon a time there was a guy, Mike Resendez, who broke the story in the Associated Press on the Catholic abuse scandal.
Yeah, the Spotlight scandal. They made a movie about it.
Oh yeah. Huge. I mean, that is the holy grail for journalists. Boom, shot this guy to stardom, right? Mm-hmm. Now, in that particular case, it was Catholic employed clergy doing horrible things.
Well, and they were moving them around instead of actually separating them from...
Leadership knew they were trying to hide it, so they couldn't be extradited. It was pretty shifty stuff. It was bad stuff, okay?
Yeah.
Now, that was amazing. Now, Mike
It was
Resendez,
the actual World War II.
It was
the actual World War II. Like, we've all seen the Freedom Tunes where they resurrect the World War II veterans to come back to the modern day.
Yes.
And they're like, the kids come up and like, we got to go out and fight Nazis. And the World War II veterans are like, what? Where are they? They're
Nazis.
back? They're back?
Yeah.
Where are they? And they point over there, those people. And it's like a suburban soccer mom that's like, we need to lower taxes. We need to lower taxes.
Yeah.
And like, fascists.
Yes, that's these guys. They're remembering those days with the Catholics. They're like, and there's a picture in the Discord of Mike Resendez and the Associated Press. We actually have, we caught a candid photo of him writing this very article. There he is, writing this article against the church and against Elder Kearon. That's him. He's trying to throw a football over those mountains over there. He's the Uncle Rico. These people are the Uncle Rico of the journalist world.
Wait, so Mike Resendez is the one that actually wrote this article. This
Well,
hit piece?
no, I think this was somebody else, but this is
Somebody. Oh, it was the Uncle Rico of Uncle Rico.
Oh, wow.
It was the want to be. It was the AAA Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico
not
Inception.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Okay.
So they wrote this article, and let's not bury the lead here. So what they say is, the newest member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they say they want to say the word Mormon as often as they can.
Yeah.
In this article. First of all, that's the first step in writing an anti-Mormon hit piece, guys. You have to just say the word Mormon as frequently as you can because you know that you're not supposed to. So they put it in everything. They say the newest member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints top governing body said every faith must do more to protect including his, must do more to protect victims of sexual abuse. That's the headline, guys. That's the headline is Mormon church leadership says it must do better to help sex abuse victims heal.
Okay, now
That's the headline.
Now hold on. Do you think that is because I'm looking right here and we got this journalist here. I use that term loosely in America nowadays. Because like journalism is basically activism nowadays. And by the way, it kind of always has been. I wish we would just go back to calling it propaganda and being honest about it.
Yeah.
You served in Russia.
Oh yeah.
And what do the Russians always say when, you said you had those conversations where you'd be like, oh no, in America, we're like really super transparent.
They say you're just as corrupt as we are, but you just hide it better.
Yeah. And they're like, we're just honest about our corruption.
We're just honest about it. We're open about it. Yeah.
So anyway, yes, the news media in America is corrupted, and it kind of has always been. I think people that think there was a period where it wasn't corrupted are just kind of naive. But anyway, here we got Deepa Barath, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which I'm probably not. Is this her just being inarticulate and under a deadline for pressure and kind of, botching it? Or is this her writing a hit piece? Because, the newest member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints top governing body said every faith, including his, must do more to protect victims of sexual abuse and help facilitate a healing process. I see how that could be written in a little bit more sterile.
Well, and just look at the bias of selection. They talk about this huge interview they conduct with Elder Patrick Kearon, who's an amazing man and has had incredible experiences and accomplished so much in his life. And what do they ask him about? They're like, let's talk about LGBTQ community. Let's talk about immigration. Let's talk about sex abuse victims. Let's talk about, he probably spent 90% of the time talking about Jesus Christ and the atonement. Really? But they took this one time a guy, this is actually a personal experience. One time a guy up where I'm from was studying to be a minister. And one of the assignments that he had is he had to interview a member of the Church of Jesus Christ.
Oh, really? Okay.
And his wife knew my wife or whatever. And they said, they'd like to talk to you. And I was like, please come talk to me. Comes into my office and this guy sits down with me and we talked for 90 minutes or something. And the first question, so tell me about excommunications. Why do you do that? And I'm
because the Bible delineates, and by the way, ours are nice because we make you cookies and try and get you back in and kill you with kindness.
And so I'm like, okay.
And love you to death.
So I tell him about excommunications, and he's like, okay, what about blood atonement?
Oh, so he started doing the whole.
Oh, geez. Well, a blood atonement never really actually happened. It was never implemented by anywhere.
Here, let me ask you about the crucifixion.
And he just goes on and on and on about all these things. And finally, after I'm just answering these questions, and finally it's like, all right, thanks so much. And he gets up to leave. And I was like, whoa. Hold on. You haven't learned anything about my church, by the way. And he's like, oh no, I've learned plenty. I was like, no, you haven't. And I took a piece of paper and I was like, all right, if this is my church, and this is everything that we believe, okay? You've asked me about this. This is Jesus Christ. Like you didn't ask me one whit about the restoration, about Jesus Christ, about the atonement, about any of that stuff. You just wanted to talk about. So the bias, the selection bias in this article.
This is what bothered me as I start reading on. Okay, I want to give grace. And the benefit of the doubt to these people, but sometimes they make it so hard. Okay. Here it is. It says, last month, Patrick Kearon, 62, became the first new member since 2018 named to the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, the body which oversees the business interests and global development of the faith widely known as the Mormon Church.
Got to slip that in there.
I was about to say...
got to put it in there as much as you can.
You got to do the dig. But anyway, speaking to the Associated Press, Kearon, who was raised in England and converted to the faith as an adult, outlined the global compassionate approach he would take on a range of sensitive issues, from the border crisis to LGBTQ community. He was particularly empathetic on how he would like victims of that bad type of abuse to be cared for by the church. And then here's the quote. There is no question in my mind that the abuse of a child or deliberate abuse of anyone is the most heinous crime that cannot be tolerated in any form. We all must do better, regardless of which religious group or denomination, in caring for those who have been victims of those crimes, help them heal and move just beyond surviving that ordeal. And then, of course, of everything to talk about, this is the paragraph. An AP investigation found that the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, that type of abuse policy reporting hotline, can be misused by its leaders to divert abuse accusations away from the law enforcement, instead to church attorneys who may bury the problem, leaving the victims in harm ways.
No, they didn't find that at all. They did not find that.
That's not a straw man. That is a flaming gasoline tank on fire,
they did
man.
Not find that at all.
That is Ghost Rider with his skull burning as he rides his Harley Davidson across the sky. And she continues saying the Utah-based faith, which I totally hate. Can they just move their headquarters to Los Angeles?
Most of the church isn't in Utah at all.
Yeah, it's such a straw man. No, I mean, it is Utah-based in the sense that is physically where the church office building is, but it's with so many straw men and misrepresentations that seem pejorative in the rest of the article, you doubt that was not a pejorative as well. Mm-hmm. So the Utah-based faith has stuck by this system despite the criticism and increasing scrutiny from attorneys and prosecutors who argue it is inadequate to quickly stop abuse and protect victims.
Who are all basing their claims off of our bogus reporting.
Yes.
All these people that we convinced all these people that we found the stuff we didn't actually find, and these people are really mad about it. That's what that paragraph should read. We lied, and we got some suckers to believe us.
Nothing is more angering than when a good intention gets punished. Like no good deed goes unpunished, right? And here you can just hear the voice of Elder Kearon just pleading with these people. Kearon didn't speak specifically about the hotline, but said the church does have protocols for reporting these crimes, which must be observed. Quote, we must deploy everything we can to help those who have been mistreated in the most dreadful ways heal, he said. There has been lots of progress made in this regard, but we need to get better. So here he is saying, no stone unturned, no dollar not spent. No child left behind, like the act was in, the late 90s, early 2000s. And no matter what he says, the next paragraph
they want the headline that they want, and they're going to say what they're going to say.
Yeah. And so anyway, Kearon, who many have described as a rising star in the church. Wild things happen when you're only in your 60s.
Well, and this again, look at this entire article. He's a rising star in the church. What are you talking about? Rising star in the church? We don't have stars in the church. You don't climb the corporate ladder in the church.
Come on, that could just be a figure of speech, right?
I just think every paragraph they have something in there.
This is fun when you're in the studio because you go harder in the paint than even I do. So sometimes this is nice. See, I'm good cop now. You're bad cop. So
dang it, Cardin. Dang it, don't do this right now. We need two bad cops.
Keep going.
But look at every paragraph. They're the Mormon church. They're based out of Utah. They're petty. They're small. They have a rising star. They're all corporate. They're all anything they can do to just insinuate negative things about the church. They're just so excited to try to do it. They're the Uncle Rico trying to turn this into a scandal that isn't. And this poor guy is saying everything perfectly. Elder Kearon is saying, what I agree completely. This type of abuse is absolutely abhorrent. We should fight it every way that we can. We have a global, you know how much money and effort and hours the church spends globally trying to fight and stop this thing, and they get zero credit from it from these people.
Well, and this is the thing that I always want to ask these activists. Sorry, I meant journalists.
Oh, slip up. Freudian slip.
It's funny to see what they bury. Because they always include, like Peggy Fletcher Stack does this at the Salt Lake Tribune, all the activists at the Washington Post, journalists at the Washington Post and, the New York Times, LA Times, they all do this. you know what they hate and what they think is a powerful opposing argument by what they put in the end of the article so they can dutifully say they did.
Yes, right.
Know?
We did our due diligence.
So they can say, well, we represented both sides.
Yes.
Oh, you mean 90% anti-Mormon strawmen and then 10% at the very end. Yeah, so here's what starts coming towards the end. Look at this. He sees his global background as relevant because the church is growing faster globally than it is in the U.S. Last year, the church announced that it had reached 17 million members worldwide by the end of 2022, which reflects a 26% increase in convert baptisms compared to the previous year. The trend is going to continue, Kearon said, adding that having served and lived in different parts of the world helps him think globally about issues that might only seem to affect one region or another. Okay, so they have to dutifully throw some stats in there so they can say that it was, science-based and data-driven, journalisming, as Ben Shapiro says, which I love that word. Anyway, this is my big question that I ask the Marxists. Every once in a while I get a chance to talk to a legitimate communist, right? And there's a question they can never answer that they only ever get angry when you ask, okay? Why are the lines to get visas and permanent residency into the United States and its allied capitalist countries so long? But the lines to get visas into North Korea,
to your utopias,
into the Marxist communist countries are utterly non-existent. Like, why, if your communism was so good, wouldn't more people be moving there? Okay. And I would ask the Associated Press, why, if the church is nothing but the spotlight abuse scandal,
yes,
why is it experience 26% convert baptismal increases over the past year? Dude, did the Catholic Church experience a 26% increase the year after the Spotlight scandal broke?
That's a good point.
Did it?
That's a great point.
No, factually, there's measurable quantifiers that show the Associated Press journalist, I'm sorry, I meant activist. No, I meant rationally representative and erudite philosopher priest, you know what I'm saying? There's just measurable quantifiers that show what you're saying is wrong, both in tone, in tenor, in insinuation. It's
wrong.
Brutal. Like, why do we still, there's a reason why Donald Trump's phrase fake news still persists in the zeitgeist and won't go away. And this is so sad. I've worked for some major news outlets. I wrote for WABC. I've worked for NBC Universal. I love the American news media when it's at its best. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say the American news media. I say being in the news media. It's fun. It's the spirit of, I'm a journalist. Oh, there's a war over there. I'm going to go cover it. Oh, there's been a disaster over there. While most people are running away, I'm going to grab a camera, an airboat, and piggyback off of the National Guard and try and catch these intrepid men in action and hopefully not die myself. There's such a spirit of adventure in it, and there's so many good, dutiful people in the news media, but they just can't get off the ground. They don't get columns in the AP about how brave the Coast Guard was in seizing that homemade submarine that probably came out last week, off the coast of San Diego. Why? Because gotta bury the 26% convert baptisms and make it look like the new guys admitting to some kind of huge scandal that went underreported.
Which is never,
they're so desperate.
Yeah.
They're so desperate to be Walter Cronkite. They're so desperate to have, I wished I would have marched with Martin Luther King, and if racism is gone and I can't fight it like he did, then I'm just going to create it and I'm going to make it in news articles. And then it's just like the Freedom cartoon where there's one guy was like, oh yeah, to the old veteran that was resurrected from World War II, is like, oh yeah, I fought Nazis too. What did he say again?
Oh yeah, he says, oh yeah, I fought Nazis. He's like, really? I was in a foxhole for 12 months in the Ardennes, and tanks were driving over, and I had a dead body rotting next to me, and that's how I fought Nazis. And he's like, oh, I did too. one time this person, I left this super mean comment on their Facebook post and I got all these likes and people were like, yeah. Queen. And like, that's how I fought Nazis. And like, wait, what? What are you talking about? That's these Uncle
That was
Ricos.
the worst Freedom Tunes accent interpretation I did. You switched between the annoying,
I was all over.
between the annoying activist to like, the wannabe socialite. You went through 3 different accents there, but anyway.
Well, we're going to teach the AP, the Associated Poop, how they could have better covered Elder Patrick Kearon here. Like if you're going to cover the bio of this guy who's been all over the world and has done incredible things. And you know why they're not on rafts sailing out to cover these wars that are breaking out? Because those rafts are filled with disaster relief volunteers from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. No room for those AP reporters sitting at their desk and just trying to think up new ways of spinning, to make the church look bad. But Elder Patrick Robert David Kearon, stud muffin. This dude's born 1961.
Okay.
And he's, when he's like 5 years old or 7 years old or something, his parents take him to Saudi Arabia and he grows up, he lives in Saudi Arabia for several years as a little boy.
Really?
Yeah. Until he's sent back to boarding school. So he goes to boarding school, like old-fashioned old school type in Britain, until when he's 19, his father dies. So he has no father for his adult life. He goes to America, and I don't know why, but that's where he gets introduced to the church.
Okay.
Then he heads back to Britain and meets the missionaries, and that's where he joins. So he joins in his 20s to become a member of the church.
Wow. Okay.
So this dude's been all over the world. He's had all kinds of experiences.
Is his wife American or is she British? I don't know. She's really.
She's gorgeous.
Did he rob the cradle? She looks like 20 years younger than him.
She looks.
You know what I'm saying? Is this one of those like second wife?
Well, probably because he's been jet hopping all over the world trying to serve people in these third world countries, and so he's got a little more sun.
So he meets Miss Yorkshire like 1993 and marries her. She's got a hip hairdo too.
She looks beautiful. She looks beautiful.
Yeah,
it's because it's objectively we've been over this. We've been over this because Latter-day Saint women are just prettier.
Yeah, well, he's got to stand up too.
Wite an AP article about that.
We did a podcast a while back about Renlund not standing up straight. Kearon, come on, brother.
He's trying to. He doesn't want to make his wife.
You married a hottie. You're an apostle. You're a modern warrior priest. Stand up straight.
He doesn't want to make his wife look too short. He wants to look just right.
Is that my Jordan Peterson make your bed thing? Stand up straight.
Rule number 1.
Stand up straight.
Cardin's rules for apostles.
Dude, that's funny, man.
Don't ever write that. Don't ever write
that one. No wonder they hate us in the
Okay, but this dude, he works for British Parliament. He works in
shut up. He works for Parliament?
Dude, when he was like a young man, this guy is.
So he's the second man to go into Parliament with good intentions after Guy Fawkes.
Savage. So he works in public affairs his whole life, incredibly successful guy. And remember, this entire time he's doing this, he's volunteering as a leader in the church. The entire time that he's doing this and having this wonderful career with his beautiful family and juggling all of that, he's volunteering his time to serve his fellow man in the church. He's not getting paid a dime for this. That might be something worth mentioning, Associated Press, that he has managed to work so hard for so many decades in a church that pays him absolutely nothing for it, purely volunteer. That's an accomplishment alone, okay? And so he's been all over the world doing all these things, so he has a wonderful perspective globally on the church, on this Utah-based faith that they talk about, which is actually based in hundreds of countries all around the world in all these different languages. Elder Kearon is a stud. He's an awesome guy, and we're thrilled to have him. This makes like 5 members of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles who are foreign, actually. We're pushing majority
By the way,
foreign.
I just realized, instead of calling it the Utah-based faith, I disagree with that. Utah is not based. It is so woke right now. Like, I would say actually LA is closer to being based than Salt Lake City is. So we should call it the Utah woke, but we escaped an LA is based faith. You know what I'm saying?
It's a little, that's longer.
Hey, well, yeah, there's Mormon and then there's member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Imagine texting that.
You know,
Utah Utah-centered,
the Utah woke faith.
Darn it, deleted it.
That's funny. Okay, we'll finish puff piecing it. We started with the hit piece from the Associated Press. Now you got a puff piece.
No. There's nothing to puff. Dude, do you know how many thousands of people this guy has personally ministered to and helped throughout his entire life that you will never know you'll never know the names of? You people at the AP, you don't get this. Our church is 100% volunteer. This guy has gone the world over serving people in other languages and other places. He's been in the trenches, in the huts with refugees on rafts. This guy's been everywhere, and you cover none of that.
And he's got a good tan.
Oh, boy, he sure does.
He's got a good tan. I don't know if that was just the color balance on the cameras.
Either that or he has LEDs under his collar.
Yeah, something like that. But there's that effervescent glow.
He's just a handsome dude. Handsome dude.
The physiognomy of apostleship is just kicking in right now.
Yeah, man.
I'm pretty sure this is what Moses looked like.
It's safe to say. Put a beard on him, Moses.
Yeah, dude, for real. That is too funny.
So that's the AP article. This is a selection bias that they're doing. They only want to talk about this. They only want to talk about that. They don't talk about any of these other very interesting, very more relevant things. They bury things at the bottom so you don't have to so they can check their little boxes. Yeah. They only mention, a 26% increase in convert baptisms for this horrible church that for whatever reason with absolute motivation is covering up abuse. These are the Uncle Ricos of the Uncle Ricos, and we are proud to have a stud like Elder Kearon in the governing body of our faith.
Okay, I agree with you, and I want the conversations to continue in the comments below. If you're watching us on YouTube, please comment there. If you're listening to us on the radio, please comment on our website as well. You can check us out at wardradio.com, and here's a comment that I want you to comment in addition to your regular comment on this. What do we call female Uncle Ricos from Napoleon Dynamite? Because, we are reading here this sister from another mister who decided to do a hit piece under the auspices of the Associated Press against one Elder Kearon. We can't call her an Uncle Rico. We have to call her an Uncle Riquette, an Uncle Rachel. I don't know. I've known way too many nice girls named Rachel. I wouldn't want to besmirch the Rachels of this world. Let us know what you think we should call journalists who misrepresent people with some bias against Le Church. Should we call them the Uncle Ricos of the Uncle Ricos?
Or the Aunt Karens? Or I don't know.
Yeah, the Aunt Carico? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
It can't be Aunt Karen because actually one of our viewers is Aunt Karen. She was on a live stream. She's actually an awesome gal.
Yeah, so poor lady.
Can't call that.
American colloquialism has not treated her kindly over the past 5 or 6 years. Anyway, guys, this has been real, and it's been fun, and it's been real fun. As always, for this and more, please check us out at wardradio.com. Like, share, subscribe, or die.
I ain't trying to bring you down, but for real, you might as well give up now. Think you got a chance, but I don't see how. Got a real tight grip when I hold that crown. My life been good and bad and all around. The more things I lost, the more I found. One thing I taught myself to do, no matter the problem, refuse to lose, so...
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Before you go, I want to put a little bit of a plug in here for my buddy Don Bradley. He's written a book called The Lost 116 Pages. We've talked a lot about it on this show, and you know what? There's plenty of material. We're gonna talk more. He's coming back into the studio pretty soon, and we want everybody to be familiar with his book because we're gonna talk about a lot of what is inside. So before he comes back and we have this kind of Ask Me Anything about this book, we're gonna do a little bit of a book club and have you guys all go buy it, all read it as much as you can over the next 2 or 3 weeks so that when he's in here and we do this little Ask Me Anything, you guys will have all kinds of questions you can ask him. Now, he's not the best self-promoter out there, but his book is the best book. It is the seminal work of Mormon history in the past decade, and you have to get it. So make sure you guys go buy Don Bradley's book, The Lost 116 Pages, so we can talk about it when he's back in the studio. Other than that, please make sure you like this video, please make sure you share this video, and you subscribe to this channel. For this and more, please make sure you check us out at wardradio.com.